Howdy, I'm Jace and I'm a sex addict. This is Sex Life, where we talk about sex and we talk about life. We do so openly and honestly without any judgment. This week I'm going to blend together a few different questions that have come in around the period of celibacy that I was participating in when I first started this channel many years ago. When I was first getting sober from sex addiction, I was also working on a project to find out what it actually means to be sexually healthy. If you've been watching my videos for a while or have watched old videos, you know just what I'm talking about. And so I got to a point where I thought it was not a good idea for me to have sex until I learned what healthy sex and healthy sexuality and healthy living looked like. So I set off on a journey where I got to talk with some of the top experts in the country and some from abroad as well. Did a ton of studying, lots of research all around sexuality and relationships, healthy living, healthy dating, all of those good things. And while I was doing that, I was not having sexual intercourse or oral sex or anything like that. Um, that lasted about 14 or 15 months, so a little over a year. So, answer to question number one, I am not celibate any longer. I did end my period of celibacy at a time that was really healthy for me. In fact, it had gotten to a point where I was really moving into sexual anorexia and I was starting to have negative feelings about sex and myself as a sexual being. I was learning all this stuff about healthy sexuality, but the longer I was staying away from it, the less healthy I was around all of that area. And so um, I decided it was a good time for me to take what I'd been learning and move into healthy sexuality. I had a long term, committed, caring partner at the time, and that worked out well. It's been hard. Um, there were a lot of issues around sexual interactions that I had to work out after stepping back into the sexual world. I didn't know how to interact. I had like the knowledge, but not the practice. So things were kind of weird for a while, and I would become really emotional for seemingly no reason. Sex was really triggering sometimes, where it would flash back to past situations or past trauma, past abuse, past really scary situations, things like that. And it's been a weird ride. Uh, no pun intended with that, but it's been kind of weird. And I still have that stuff come up as well. For me and anyone that I know that's recovering from sex addiction or any kind of tough sexual stuff, things move a little more slowly, so that way there can be conscious decision and conscious thought going into those sexual actions. And of course, it was a totally different environment for me to be in sexually, where I was present. I wasn't using it to escape. I wasn't using it for anything. I was actually there, connecting with my partner, being intimate in the most deepest way one can be physically intimate. So, yeah, I have been sexually active for quite a while now and growing more healthy and more secure in all of that. Um, I actually went through a time where I felt like I had never had sex before because really I hadn't. Like, me as an addict had, but I wasn't present when those things were going on. I was using it to numb out, I was using it to escape. And so, me as Jace, the healthy individual, wasn't usually present during any of that. And so, I was like embarrassed with sexual interactions for a while. Talking about it was embarrassing. I would blush. Um, in that area in general. So it was really funny. It was really ironic. Like, oh, here I am, a sex addict, and I'm embarrassed and insecure about all things sexual. And I was really insecure about my sexual performance as well. So that was kind of weird. And I had spent a lot of my time in acting out, being someone else, and using sex and using it as a way of control or manipulation or numbing out or coping or escape or all of these things that were pretty ugly in a lot of ways. And I was oftentimes mimicking what I had watched in pornography. So it's like that I thought would make me an appealing partner. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But so yeah, I had to relearn everything when I left my period of celibacy. Another question around that was it hard? Yeah, sometimes, especially in the beginning. Of course, it was hard. I went through withdrawal, just as people do when quitting heroin or cocaine. There's a physical withdrawal that happens when a sex addict stops acting out sexually. So that was painful. I was really irritable. I was kind of like a werewolf, just very monstrous, very angry for a while. There was physical pain that happened, and then there were cravings for using that form of escape, and I didn't have access to it. I chose not to because I wanted to be sexually sober, and yeah, it was hard. But honestly, the difficulty didn't last that long. It was really tough for all, but it's like quitting anything or pausing on anything. The first couple of weeks or 3 weeks can be like really, really hard, and then you get into a rhythm with it, a flow with it, and the body changes, the mentality changes, and it just became normal for me. I've had people say, well, that's because you're a woman. But no, I know men that are in recovery as well who have taken a period of celibacy from sexual interactions, and they've said the same thing. It's tough at first, but in time it just becomes part of life. I mean, the human brain and body is wildly adaptable. That's why we've survived so long. We are able to adapt to the conditions we're presented with. So, yeah, it was hard, and then it wasn't. And then sometimes it'd be hard again. And then it'd be totally fine. So I really enjoyed that period of celibacy. It was really good because it gave me a chance to allow my brain to heal, for one. There's actual neural pathways and things that need to heal when recovering from addiction. And so staying away from sexual acting out or sexual behavior was very powerful in allowing my brain to heal. They say that the average for that process of healing to start is about 3 months. And so it's recommended by a lot of CSATs, certified sex addiction therapists, and recovery programs to have at least a 90-day period of abstinence from all sexual behavior in the beginning of getting sober for at least 90 days. I think that's great. I think it helps a lot when getting sober from sexual acting out. So I recommend it. If you have a partner, it's important to have those conversations and explain, the importance of that period of celibacy. But it's not that scary. 90 days can go by fast. 100 days can go by fast. 5 months can go by fast. And, we're talking about my health here. We're talking about my life. I came into recovery in a life or death situation. So was it worth my life, my health, and my happiness to put sex on hold for a few months? Yeah, it totally was. And I thought I was going to die. That might sound extreme, but I did. I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to be miserable. It really wasn't that dramatic, and it wasn't that tough after a little while. So, yeah, those are the questions around celibacy and its benefit and my experience with it. Thanks so much for sending that question in. If you have a question, you can send it in to my website, jacedowney.com. You can find that in the description below, along with a lot of really helpful resources all around sex addiction and recovering from sex addiction. So feel free to check those out if you are struggling. And until I see y'all next time, stay curious.